Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to every single one of our sponsors. Now, you've heard me say before, these companies are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I highly recommend that you check them out. So take 3 minutes, that's it. Listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school and it works. I'm telling you. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. When I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, all of our coaches, just love the tools. Our kids love the videos. Parents love the streaming, but there's so much more. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably the best purchase I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. I mean, their athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is worth the price. Go to homecampus.com to find out more. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com, and their team is going to have you creating world-class social media content in seconds. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. And whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to share all the great things your athletic department is doing, the Gipper team will have you up and running in no time. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while he was earning his master's degree, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for digital ticketing, fee-free fundraising, and athletic websites. Whether you're an athletic director, a coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for schools to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. Learn more at hometownticketing.com. We also want to thank our friends at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but most of the time it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns and address them. But they're also going to connect you to the 98% that support your program. And having that kind of data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to Athletic Surveys and let them create a custom survey that's going to give you the ability to check the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Make sure you tell them about the podcast, athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Longtime listeners know that every once in a while we look at an international school athletic program, and that's what we're doing today. We've got our very first guest from the Netherlands. We're going to be visiting today with Rosemary Fatta Mari. She's the athletic director at the American School of the Hague. Of course, that's in the Netherlands. Has a tremendous background in athletics, and we're excited to hear all about it. Rosemary, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you, Jake. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Oh, no, absolutely. The honor is ours. Um, let's go and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio. Tell us your life story in 2 minutes. No, take us back. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Yeah.
Maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. So,
All right.
what's your story?
What's my story? I was born and raised in a very small, at the time, farming town in Northern California, right outside of Sacramento, called Woodland, and went through elementary, high school there, and then moved just a little further up north, an hour and a half, to went to Chico State University, and graduated from Chico State and moved to Southern California. Spent about 5 years there after college graduation, just to get my feet wet into teaching in Southern California. That's it.
Well, I recognize every single one of those towns because I was born and raised, grew up in Oregon and in Washington, so I know the West Coast. Um, take us
Nice.
back to those junior high days, your neighborhood. What was that like growing up? Small town, big town, suburbs?
Small town, and we had two middle schools, two junior highs that fed into one high school. And so it was, crosstown rivalry for sports, Lee versus Douglas. And then all of a sudden, boom, you were classmates and teammates in high school. So it was really kind of a unique situation. Fast forward now, where, I had nieces and nephews go through the same program. There are now two high schools. And so it's grown quite a bit. It's a little bit different, but growing up, it was a pretty small town of about 35,000, and I want to say now it's well over 60.
Wow. Okay. Now, how
Yeah.
about you as you went from middle school into high school? What were your sports? What were your activities?
My sports were softball, volleyball, and basketball. But it's interesting to end up in this career as an athletic director. And in fact, when you asked me if I'd be interested in being a guest on your show, I had a little hesitation, or great hesitation, I should say, if I'm being honest, because I still suffer 13 years later as an athletic director, or actually, I think I'm in my 12th year, um, of a bit of imposter syndrome because I didn't, I played 3 seasons of sports for 4 years, but that was it. I never went beyond 11th grade in terms of sports, and my trajectory was going to be a nurse, and then I switched nursing to teaching and was an elementary school teacher for 22 years. Um, Before getting my master's in K-12 administration. And then the world opened up with athletic director as being an administrative position. And I thought, wow, my love of sports, students, and admin, like this is all it all kind of came together. So I don't have the typical journey as many do. And as I listen to many of the guests on your podcast ahead of time, with their college coaching days or what, and I don't have that to bring to the table, but I was a student athlete, and so I guess that I just come with a different lens.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And for you and for, any listeners, any younger listeners or older listeners, of course, there are some commonalities with, let's say the bulk of high school, middle school athletic directors, but there's also unique stories. I mean, talking about athletics, I say this all the time, injuries and lack of talent kept me out of the National Football League. So again, we all have our own journey. We're going to talk about your career path because, again, I just find it fascinating in our next segment. But You mentioned, and correct me if I say this wrong, you were a student athlete in high school, multi-sports up through your junior year. Uh, then you took a break from competing yourself, but now here you're back into high school administration. I'm going to bet, and this is the question I'm asking you in a very long way, that you had some coaches, some teachers, some administrators that now, in your position as the director of athletics at the American School of the Hague, that you can look back to those moments as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and say, hey, those were important moments for me in my growth as an AD. Anything stick out for you?
Absolutely. I can't hear the song "Eye of the Tiger" without thinking of Miss Helvick, our basketball coach, freshman year. She was so passionate and driven and just inclusive and just motivating. And I think back, I thought, I want to be like her. I didn't know that I would get into coaching later on. I dabbled in coaching a little bit when I worked in Bolivia. But it wasn't, my lifelong goal to be a coach, but I thought if I'm going to do it, I wanted to emulate someone like her. I think we all have someone like that that just is kind of a hero to us and someone that we'd like to aspire to be. So she's definitely my person.
Oh no, absolutely, and I appreciate you sharing that. I just again, I'm trying not to make this about me. Just yesterday, I get a Facebook post from a high school buddy. Our high school basketball coach and PE teacher. I was his TA when he first came to the school for 2 years. He just passed away. But we have people like that that just,
Yeah.
he was kind of my standard as a young PE teacher. Oh, I got to be like Coach Blue. I got to do it this way. So. Um,
Yeah.
let's go and jump forward. You mentioned Chico State, and you mentioned, you were going to be a nurse, you're going to do these other things. Any experiences from your college days that still ring true for you now as a athletic administrator?
Oh my gosh. I took a couple of classes as I was kind of started nursing and then wasn't sure where I wanted to go. And one of the classes I took was leisure and recreation. And when I know that my parents had the same expression, I know the listener can't
Oh no,
see,
I'm
but
laughing because I took that same class. No, absolutely.
oh yeah, I'm not sure it's still offered, but that one, and I took it was kind of a group sports. I don't even remember the name of the class, but we played a game called volleyball, kind of between volleyball and racquetball, and obviously playing off the walls. And I just thought this is awesome. How I think those were kind of just turning points where I need to keep sports in my life. I'm not going to be an athlete, but I'm interested. I want to motivate again students and support students in their athletic journey, whatever that may be. And I would say that those are the two moments, two classes that I just thought this is fun and this could be a lifelong thing.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah, just
I
nurture
think
it.
that's a common experience for many ADs and coaches. I still remember in high school, just great coaches. They loved what they were doing. They were teaching skills. There was some competition, but it was still PE class. It wasn't
Yeah,
athletics. And I'm just thinking, God, this would be a great job. And then when I was that 22, 23-year-old right out of college working, I'm going, I'm getting paid to do this. I can't believe it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
very cool. Let's go and take a break. For our listeners, our guest today is Rosemary Fatta Mari. She is the Director of Athletics at the American School of the Hague in the Netherlands, of course. A little geography lesson. We're coming back, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the video streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Rosemary Fatta Mari. She's the Director of Athletics at the American School, The Hague. We're going to get to that later, but Rosemary, you mentioned, growing up in California, you graduated from Chico State. Take us on that journey that has now, brought you to the Netherlands. What were some of the stops along the way?
Some of the stops, not probably not your typical stops, but I decided growing up in a small town and then going to college in a little bit of a bigger town, I was ready for a bigger experience. So I moved to Los Angeles and earned my teaching degree and started teaching in the inner city Los Angeles school district. And I did that for about 5 years, and then realized quickly that um, I needed to try something else. I didn't know if teaching was for me. It was just 35 third graders in a classroom. I was an elementary teacher. Uh, and my friends and I, around the same age and at the same time, here we were early in our early 20s thinking, I can't do this for the next 30 years. Saw the LA Times on this staff room table with a big page layout saying, international school teachers, if you're interested in teaching internationally, come to this meeting out near LAX on this coming Saturday. And it was a post by a company called Search Associates, which helps places teachers in international schools. So my friends and I thought, let's do this. Let's go. Let's hear what this is all about. And we did. And one thing led to another. After just being mesmerized by this presentation, we all went off in different directions. And the following year, I moved to La Paz, Bolivia, and taught fifth grade there for about 8 years, and then loved it so much, but wasn't quite ready. And in the meantime, I had taken a leave of absence from my Los Angeles Unified School District position. Um, and I was ignoring the notices that it's time to come back. It's time to come back. And finally, after 3 years, I said, no, I will be resigning. And following La Paz, Bolivia, I went further south in South America to Lincoln, the Association Escuelas Lincoln in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I spent 18 years. I moved there as a single teacher and left with a husband, a dog, and moved here then to the Netherlands. But I planned to go for maybe 4 years, and 18 years later, we decided to take the leap over to Europe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Couple directions I want to go in there. Um,
Yeah.
so making that leap, had you traveled before? Had you been to, other parts of the country, or was this, I guess, a leap of faith?
It was a leap of faith. I traveled around the United States quite a bit. I was one of seven kids, and my parents would load up the station wagon, and we, saw the United States pretty well. But in my early 20s, I what was the first time I got a passport and used that to, go to Mexico. That was the extent. So when I was given the job offer for La Paz, Bolivia, I'll be honest with you, I had to get the atlas out at the time. And this is 1997, look to see exactly where it was in the heart of South America. And I thought, let's do this. Well, I'll go learn some Spanish and then come back to California. And yeah, I've now been overseas almost 30 years. So who knew? But during my time in Argentina is when I made the switch from being a classroom teacher or an elementary teacher to athletics director. In the early 2000s got my master's in through Michigan State University. in K-12 admin, and I thought I was chomping at the bit to use everything, everything I had learned. And then a position became available at my school for the athletic director, and I thought, this is a good way to get my feet wet. Maybe, I'll be a principal maybe down the road after that. And had no idea I'd fall in love with it.
Well, let's go in that direction. There's an expression we use in our profession. I'm sure other professions use it too, but you don't know what you don't know. Becoming an AD for the first time, what were some things that you found out that you didn't know?
Oh gosh, I don't, how long is this? I don't know. You don't know the hours behind it. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's not a desk job. Um, the the extent, especially as an international AD, how much of it is you are a travel agent, you are looking at passports, you're looking at immigration control, you're looking at does this student from India and we're traveling here, do they need a visa for this country? So how much there's so much behind the scenes aside from working with coaches that don't speak English. I think part of the reason I was hired in Argentina is because I spoke Spanish, but the there's just so much aside from the officials not speaking English or um, trying to get uh, games when most of the international school in Argentina was kind of its own I want to say entity. I mean, we played a lot of club teams.
Right.
And so when you're putting school teams against club teams, the competition is just it's insane. It's different. And so I mean the learning curve was steep. Fortunately, I had amazing people around me. And that's what kept me intrigued and challenged and learning and growing all along the way. But yeah, there's so many things. I would have to say the hours was probably the number one.
Oh no, and every AD goes through that. There's wow, there's turn out the gym lights at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Um,
Yeah. Or
question
when your
you
friends ask you, "What did you do this weekend?" And you're like,
exactly, yeah.
"That's my favorite on Monday."
Um, you you mentioned your school in Argentina that they were they're intramurals and you're playing clubs and things like that. As you got into your role as the athletic director there, was it a conscious effort on your part to take the program and make it more, let's say, interscholastic, playing other schools, and of course, still acknowledging recreation and intramurals and things like that? And were you able to accomplish that in your time at the school in Buenos Aires?
Yeah, absolutely. Just hitting the ground, I mean, going to the schools, making contacts in person, showing that we were really interested, that we weren't just this, snobby school down the road with, kids of diplomats playing, really picking up the phone, making the calls, just, knocking on the doors, and really getting us out there. And it worked to an extent. We were able to play more and more schools. Um, the levels were different. A lot of Argentine schools, and maybe this is in other countries as well. They depend on their students going to club teams, and so sometimes their teams were made up of their PE classes. So sometimes when you did arrange a fixture with a school, you didn't know who you were going to get. Am I getting the PE class, or am I getting, is this
Right.
really the part of their program, their extracurricular or co-curricular program, which is, what interscholastic sports usually for most of us means.
Yeah, boy, I think I would find that frustrating. What your team is like, and boys, girls, soccer, whatever. We're sending this team over, and we know, hey, we feel pretty good about this team, or we know that this team is developmental, and you're hoping to play a like-minded team, but all of a
Yeah,
sudden it's a completely different level of competition. Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I think
Very
that
dull
would have,
moment.
yeah. Oh no, exactly. Yeah. Um, let's do this to set up our next segment. You were the AD at the school in Argentina, and then all of a sudden, it seems like you're in the Netherlands. Okay, how did that happen? Don't go into the details about the school. Save that for the next segment. But why? How the big move across the Atlantic?
Oh, the big move. I knew I wanted one more international experience, at least one more, because it was never my intention to stay in Argentina for 18 years. But the first nine, as I said, was, in the classroom as a classroom teacher, and the second nine were as athletic director. And I firmly believe that the turnover in a school can be really good and healthy and change and just new ideas. And I thought I was the head of athletics and activities, and I felt like I'd really taken this program as far as I felt that I could take it at the time. It's time for me to pass the baton, fresh eyes,
Mhm.
fresh view, everything. Um, and I kind of felt that a little bit, and then COVID hit, and I thought, okay, no one's looking for a job now. So waited a little bit longer, and I was also kind of picky. I'm a bit older than many athletic directors, and I don't want to just go anywhere. I'm not new in my career. I've been in education for 34 years. Um, and so I thought, I'm going to be picky about this, and when the right one comes, I'll know it. So I cast my net not too far, not too wide, but this position came up here in the American School of the Hague, and I thought I've got to jump on this opportunity and
Oh,
apply
well,
and put myself out there.
there you go. Well, let's go and take another break. When we come back, once again, we're visiting with Rosemary Fatta Mari. She's going to tell us all about her school, the American School of the Hague in the Netherlands. So let's take that break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We'd like to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, or results. I mean, their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. To get more information, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com, and their team is going to have you creating world-class social media content in seconds. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. And whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your program's doing, the Gipper team is going to have you up and running in no time. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Rosemary, you shared with our listeners right at the end of our last segment, kind of the why you ended up at the American School of the Hague. But let's go and hear more about your school. Describe for that listener somewhere in the United States, maybe Florida, about what the American School of the Hague is.
The American School of the Hague is a K-12 school. Actually, I think we begin in pre-K. There's about 950 students total in the entire school, and my department or it oversees the middle school and high school sports program. And so in middle school and at the our school begins in fifth grade. So from fifth grade through 12th grade, 3 seasons of sports.
And again, is this school already, was that system already in place where it was largely interscholastic? You're competing against other like-minded schools, or did you have to do some tweaks?
No, it was really kind of a sweet position to fall into, and I was so thrilled that I'm not banging on doors or making phone calls begging for fixtures. We're really fortunate that nearby competition, we've got the International School of Amsterdam, just about 30 minutes down the road, and we've got the International School of The Hague, kind of our crosstown rival, if you will, just 30 minutes down the road, the opposite direction. The American School of The Hague is actually located in a small suburb called Wassenaar. And so we're very fortunate that we've got those key schools to play against for competition. Also, we've got the British school nearby. So we're really lucky in that aspect to have that such close competition. In terms of a broader conference, we're part of an 8-team conference known as the International School Sports Tournament, ISST, kind of a mouthful. And we are one of 8 countries here in Europe. And so these fixtures have been set through 2030, the end of season championship games from U14 all the way through varsity sports at the end of each season. So it's really a well-oiled machine, and it's awesome to be a part of this. We meet as athletic directors, the 8 of us in the region, 3 times a year, and tweak the handbook, look at the planning, who's hosting, what issues have come up in different tournaments. But it's really kind of nice to know that there's this history there, this rich history. That provides a great competition for our students.
Now, I'm going to take a kind of a curve here. As you work with your program, your student athletes, your coaches, et cetera, um, what challenges, if any, I'll phrase it that way, do you have at your school? And maybe even you could comment on the international school setting with parents. I know some schools are boarding schools, and so the parents aren't there. Others are, more day schools. What's and for our podcast listeners, you're missing a great visual on Rosemary's reaction here. Uh, what what are some things that you do to foster positive relationships with your parents?
Oh my gosh. The parent community is an interesting one. When I first came on board at this school, and I began in August, and there were holes in the coaching positions that I needed to fill for the season. And in this school, and every school is different, but here at Ash, we call ourselves the coaching community is made up of teachers, classroom teachers, external coaches, as well as parents. And when I first learned that, I have to admit I was a little bit nervous because my experience that I could draw upon with regards to parents in Argentina was I thought how do parents coach? Because I didn't see that, given my experience, that they would have been capable of being objective and supportive in a group, because they seem to have eyes for their student, their child. So now over here with the parents, it's been kind of this amazing shift where those parents who coach for me, they get it. They will sometimes come into my office and be like, "Oh, this parent," and I just kind of giggle because they see it. They are in the trenches with me, and I don't want it to at all sound like it's us against them, because really we are a team, and I've got this amazing Trojan Club. We don't call them boosters here, but it's the same idea as in the US. You'd call a booster club. This Trojan Club is amazing. And the parent community the majority is fantastic, but it's just about the communication that goes out. They just need the understanding of the program, because at the end of the day they want what's best for their child, and you want what's best for their child as well. But I think that parents can sometimes get a bad rap because they can cause a lot of fuss. And a few years ago at the NIAAA conference, I'll never forget, sitting in a large room with a bunch of athletic directors, and we were having a roundtable discussion about parents. And someone said my next job is going to be at an orphanage. And I just cracked up. I thought that was hilarious. And so once in a while, if I'm having a rough, parent interaction, that thought comes to my head, and I'm sure a little, smile comes across my face just thinking of that comment. But yeah, for the most part, I've got a fantastic community, and the idea is to communicate clearly with them and to put them to work, and either as a coach. And granted, our coaches are paid. It's not, not a lot. No one's coaching for the money, but get them coaching, get them working in concessions, get them at the score table. Just use them so that they have a minute to walk a minute in your shoes, and that it'll help them to kind of just see athletics from a different lens, to see that we are really making strides to make this the best experience for everyone involved.
No, and again, that's the perfect response is, parents nowadays, they're going to be involved. And so a good AD, a smart AD is going to do exactly what you're doing. You're going to try to find them a role that is going to work for them. It's not about them, coaching their kid. It's about how can they help the program and, still enjoy the athletic experience. Early on, you also talked about the importance of networking. Let's do that right now. And we'll do this again at the end of the podcast. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, maybe about being an international school AD or about how you do things at your school, what's the best way that our listeners can connect with Rosemary Fatta Mari?
Oh, sure. Send me an email at rfatamari at ash, that's ASH.NL.
Yeah, I like that. ASH, American School of the Hague. Um, Once again, our guest is Rosemary Fatta Mari. She's the director of athletics at the American School of the Hague. We're going to come back with more. Going to take another break. I know that's shocking for our regular listeners, but we are coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. They're also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast, vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA for more information. And we'd like to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for digital ticketing, fee-free fundraising, and athletic websites. Whether you're an athletic director, a coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for schools to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. You can learn more at hometown.com. As always, don't forget to mention the podcast, hometown.com. snapraise.com. You're going to be glad you did. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD podcast. Rosemary, you mentioned attending the NIAAA conference. Professional development's obviously, something that athletic directors love to do and love to share with the coaches. What are some things that you have done as an international school AD to try and stay current with, let's say, developments in the profession?
Well, I continue attending the NIAAA conference as often as possible. I missed this last one in Austin, but as I said, when I took on my first role as athletic director back in 2013, I had such, it was, the learning curve, as we talked about earlier, was so steep. And in my conference at that time in Argentina was Ecuador was part of our conference. And so the athletic director there, Jeff Escalante, longtime attendee of the NIAAA, kind of took me under his wing and was saying, there's this conference out there, you should go. And so I looked into it. What is this all about? And of course, went to my first one, and it was just amazing. It was overwhelming. Came back with so much information. And then I thought, okay, I hope that it really turns a corner and becomes a little bit more international. Like so much of it was great, but a lot of this was, Friday night ticket prices or crowds and ticket sales and turf fields and things that I wasn't dealing with. And the helmets, for American football and, again, not relatable, but as the years have gone on, I feel like they've done a pretty good job of making it more international friendly with all the 900 courses. And those have been really great. And I've been able to, be kind of pilot some of those and, take the exam as a pilot to see, if I can give some feedback on that. So just staying current in terms of attending those conferences and networking. And I'm in a WhatsApp chat, and I think there's over 60 of us international ADs in this chat, and just being able to throw it out there to each other, hey, who's got an end of season, coach evaluation form, or who's got anything, a parent letter that states A, B, and C, now, with Chat GPT, we all, helps our finger, help like that is at our fingertips. But to be able to network and to reach out into that community, I feel like has been a game changer. And then to meet these people in person, I mean, the trust is already there because you've already met them. It's built. You've got a great relationship with these people, and so you feel, there's no fear of putting something in the chat, asking a question. And then locally with my coaches, we are in Europe, where it's on a much, much smaller scale, but a similar idea is once every 18 months, one of the European schools. It's been in Dusseldorf. The next, it's been in Brussels. The next one's going to be in Frankfurt next August. Coaching for a greater purpose. We call it the CGP, and that is put on there's the hosting school, but really it's athletic directors and it's coaches, but it's really geared towards coaches and coaches giving the workshops. Females and athletes, nutrition for athletes. The coaches get to sign up for the workshops or the presentations that they'd like to attend. And those have just been awesome. And they're just, a little 2.5 day event. But again, just, what's staying with what's current. What are we doing now, with concussion? And are we up to date with, this is now the protocol, protocols change. Females and female athletes, and we're learning more about them, and how to, and research showing that, that they typically drop out anywhere, from 13 to 17. What can we do to keep them in sports? There's just so many awesome topics, and being able to share that with the coaches and giving them kind of a sign up, who wants to go. We're happy to send as many as possible. And it being here in Europe, it's pretty, uh, budget friendly, let's say.
No, absolutely. As an athletic director, I think ADs love to provide professional development for their coaches. But sometimes it's a challenge with budgets and things. What are some things that you try to do or you're able to do at your school in this area? What are some ways you provide professional development for your coaching staff?
Um, Aside from the regular offerings of first aid and staying up to date with first aid training at our school, getting them, seeing if they're interested in attending, for example, the CGP conference that's coming up in August, getting a survey out to coaches now to see where their interests may lie. Finding out really through trying to have those conversations and see what they might be interested in, rather than and then I can do some homework, some legwork to see, is there an offering in the Hague? Is the International School of Amsterdam, are they putting on something? What local opportunities might there be for our staff? We've, before I came on board, I guess they were given books to read. So I might, circle back and try that one. Is there a common book that we could read together as a group and then come back and share and discuss? It's a challenge because, as you know, time, these are, many of them are teachers. So for me to say, all right, we're all going to read this book and then come together and discuss our ideas on this, I'm not sure how realistic that is, but I'm always, and you're right. I think as ADs, we're just always looking at, how can I support them and but really, I think we have to ask them the question, what do you, what do you not know that you want to know, that are interested in learning more about, and how can we support?
No, you're absolutely right. And when you come across that great resource, whether it's a book study or a clinic or something, it's like gold. You can't wait to pass
Yeah.
it on. Rosemary, this has just been so cool spending some time with you, getting to know you, adding you to my network. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in the toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, and when we return, we're going to see what Rosemary Fatta Mari, an international school AD, is going to put into her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that positive feedback, that data, is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Rosemary Fatta Mari. She's the director of athletics at the American School of the Hague. Has a tremendous background in athletic administration. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD on their very first job. But I'm only going to let her put 3 things in the toolbox. So, Rosemary, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Okay, number one, I would have to say is communication, in all forms, whatever your school or your district, whatever channels that they are behind, use them, and get the word out. Whether it be, Instagram or the weekly newsletter, make sure that you are clear, you're concise, and don't be too wordy. No one's going to open that email if it's got pages and loads of paragraphs. Try to use bullets whenever possible. and make reread it and make sure that your facts and your what you want to get across is clear. Date, time, who, what, when, where, why, and that's be concise. So communicate, communicate. Number two, um, surround yourself with amazing people, and delegate. So first, identify those key people, whether it's your assistant, whether it's the president of your booster club, or in my case, Trojan Club. Identify those key people. We've got a student intern who just began today. Love having an intern in the office. Delegate. Identify those tasks that someone else could fire away that provide you more time for bigger picture items. Um, and then thirdly, oh my gosh, I just lost it. I so had it. Boundaries. Um, Carve out time for you, because no one's HR is not going to send you an email saying, "Oh, we've noticed you've worked so many hours this week. Really take some time off." No one's going to do that for you. So you really need to plan ahead, look at your schedule, open your calendar, and block out times for you that just say busy, walking the dog, whatever it is. If you can go in to work late, go to work late. Um, Carve out time for you. Um, because no one's going to do that for you. So you really have to set those boundaries. And if you the bulk of your work is to hit those practices or games that are after school to connect with and communicate with your coaches and be visible and be present, then maybe you take a few more, a few mornings a week and you go in at 10 or 11. Because again, yeah, this is, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and you got to set those boundaries and just be firm in that. And I've been so fortunate to have uh my direct supervisors, my superintendent, absolutely behind me. And that's key. It's important.
Well, I love every single one of them, and I love your turn of phrase on setting up those boundaries. HR is not going to send you a memo. Hey, you're working too hard. That's just classic. I love it. Um, Rosemary, this has been great. You've elevated yourself to friend of the show status now,
Thank you.
and you've got to go to the national conference next year. It's in Tampa. It's down in my state, so
Absolutely.
we're definitely going to connect down there.
I will
Once
be
again,
there.
if one of our listeners wanted to connect, and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can do that?
Absolutely. Reach out. R Fata Mari at ash.nl. That's R Fata Mari at ash.nl.
Rosemary Fatta Mari, the athletic director at the American School of The Hague. Thanks so much for sharing with our listeners. All the best moving forward, and we're definitely going to have to get you back on the podcast for an update.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. For our listeners, just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Education Lady Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So come back and join us again on the next episode of the Education Lady Podcast.